Sean O'Malley put on an absolute clinical performance against Chito Vera at the weekend. He absolutely took him to school. He made it look easy against him. What a performance it was. But he did do one thing wrong on the microphone at the end. So I'm going to be looking at that in today's video, and I'm going to be letting you know why I think Sean O'Malley went wrong at the end. UFC 299, it was absolutely brilliant from start to finish. It was a highly anticipated card and it did not let us down. So in today's video, I'm going to be breaking down all the fights on the main card, and I'm going to be giving my thoughts on who I think each fighter should fight next. If you enjoy this content, make sure to like, share and subscribe to Birdie Talks Fighting. I am a new channel, so all of the support is greatly appreciated and it helps get my channel out there, so thank you for that. So without further ado, we'll get into today's video.
Shut up and sit down.
Starting off with the main event, Sean O'Malley put on an absolute masterclass this weekend. I did predict that it was going to be easy for him. I predicted a second round knockout for Sean O'Malley, but I forgot just how tough and durable Chito Vera is. I don't know if it's possible to knock this guy out. See the knee that Sean O'Malley landed in the first round? I have never seen anyone eat a knee like that in my life. Just listen to the sound of it. I'm going to rewatch it now, and the sound of that is fucking unbelievable. How Chito Vera went on and he just ate that so well. Like, he just kept continue fighting. It didn't really stun him at all. Unbelievable that was. Probably one of the most vicious sounding knees or strikes I have ever heard in the UFC. That was unbelievable, and Chito Vera just walked it off. It was at this moment I knew Sean O'Malley is not going to hit Chito Vera with anything cleaner than that. So is it possible for him to knock him out? And I started thinking no. And I was right, because Chito Vera, fair play to him, he just kept walking forward. He got absolutely schooled, don't get me wrong. I did say in my prediction video that I didn't think Chito Vera was up for the quality of what Sean O'Malley would have been needing to really compete in this title fight. I didn't think he properly deserved the title fight, but it was entertaining. Sean O'Malley really went to school on him. Landing a complete array of punches throughout the 5 rounds, and Chito Vera really just shows how tough and durable he is. From the end of this fight, Chito Vera was looking like Jesus on the cross. He looked absolutely terrible. He had taken a serious amount of damage, and I was actually worrying how much damage he was taking in the end. Sometimes guys like Chito Vera, very similar to Nate Diaz, they're very hard to put away, but they're taking so much damage over and over, whereas that can really fuck you up mentally. It cannot be good for the brain. It's nearly better getting put to sleep. Say that knee put Chito Vera to sleep, he wouldn't have had to have went through the rest of the damage that he suffered throughout the other 4 rounds of this fight. So there is something to say for these people that have really durable chins, that it can be bad in the long run. You know, I don't know how many fights Chito Vera could go and receive damage like that from and not have a negative impact on his future health. But fair play to Chito Vera. I was going to say what a performance from him. It wasn't really what a performance from, because he didn't really offer much in terms of attacking. He did get 50-45 by Sean O'Malley, but in terms of durableness, I have never seen anything like it. So I take my hat off to Chito Vera. For Sean O'Malley, it was all going unbelievably well for him. What a performance. The only thing he could have done better was put Vera away, but of course, I don't think that was possible. He done everything he could. He couldn't have fought any better, in my opinion. But he gets on the mic and he gets it all wrong for me. He calls out Ilia Topuria. Why the fuck would he want to fight Ilia Topuria? I get they're 2 big names, but you have to defend your title more in your division. You've got a hashtag #1 contender in Merab. Merab, he was standing in the front row. I know O'Malley did briefly mention Merab's name, but that is not the fight he wants, and it really looks like he's ducking him. I don't think he is ducking him. I think O'Malley's confident enough. I think he thinks he could beat Merab, but we have to, and Topuria was talking about stepping up as well after his fight. I really hate this. I really wish fighters would stay and defend their title in their own division for longer instead of thinking about stepping up. Topuria had literally just got the featherweight title and he was talking about stepping up to fight Islam or fighting guys in the lightweight division. That was Sean O'Malley's first title defense, and he's got Merab as the #1 contender. And Merab will be Sean O'Malley's hardest fight yet. I think everyone knows that. Merab is an absolutely brilliant fighter. He just ragdolled the triple champ Cejudo. You know, so who knows what Merab can do to Sean O'Malley. It's a really tight matchup, and you know, I think people would actually back Merab going into this. So to me, why is Sean O'Malley trying to hype up Ilia Topuria fight instead of Merab? That was Sean O'Malley's time. They cut a promo with Merab in the front row. Imagine if he cut a promo and Merab came into the cage in the same way that Sterling and O'Malley did at the time when Merab stole the jacket. That was a funny moment. They could have done something like that. They could have had Merab in the cage. He was sitting in the front row. He weighed in his back up. Of course he's going to get the fight next. Normally if you weigh in his back up, you do get the next shot at the title. So I do think it will be Merab. But for Sean O'Malley, he got it all wrong on the mic. What a night it was for him, and he had the chance to cut the perfect promo at the end, and he missed it. Yes, him and Ilia Topuria would be a great fight, but they're two young stars within the sport. None of them needs their record diminished now. Let them go and defend the title in their own divisions and get their stardom and their star power even bigger before making them fight each other. I think that is Dana's plan. He did mention it after about the sort of ludicrousness behind these two fighters wanting to step up weight already.
I don't know about moving divisions. Yeah. You know how I feel about that. I mean, even Topuria was talking about not fighting anybody in the division after just winning the title.
Yeah.
That's crazy talk.
We're not watching the WWE here. We're watching guys who should be fighting and getting title shots based on meritocracy and not just how big their name value is. So fingers crossed we get O'Malley against Merab next. I don't even know who I'm going to predict for that. I did think Merab. I've always thought Merab, but after watching Sean O'Malley, he is really, really good. You know, Sterling, some people might have said the Sterling knockout was a bit of a fluke or a lucky punch because he did lose the first round against Sterling. But in there against Chito Vera, if Sean O'Malley fights the gap there, I think he could take on anyone, to be honest, in the bantamweight division. So hopefully that's a fight we get. Merab against Sean O'Malley. It's one to look forward to. So we then move on to the 5-round co-main event, which didn't go 5 rounds, but it was scheduled for 5 rounds. It was the fight of the night, and what a fucking brilliant fight this was. Dustin Poirier is an absolute stud. I mentioned it in my prediction video. I didn't predict Dustin Poirier. I predicted Benoit Saint Denis for the 4th round knockout. But Dustin Poirier, oh my god. See, as soon as this first round started, I actually knew it wasn't going to go as far as even the 4th round. I knew it wasn't going to go in the championship rounds. The pace that they started at was unbelievable. There was a lot of sort of tie clinch boxing. They were fighting on the inside a lot, which I thought Dustin Poirier would have done better with, to be honest. But they were standing trading. Benoit Saint Denis took a few punches. Dustin Poirier took even more punches. Dustin Poirier, he really did make me laugh during this first round because he kept jumping in the guillotines. Anytime he felt Benoit Saint Denis' head kind of like in his armpit area, he locked it up and he jumped in, and they were pretty half-hours guillotines, to be honest. The elbow was pretty high. You can finish an elbow high guillotine, but you would want the elbow to be much lower. You want them to bring the elbow down much more than where it was. At this level of fighting, the fighters tend to be pretty good at escaping them. There's a few traditional escapes which are hard to avoid, and especially in the high pace that fight was at. You know, it's hard to think about all the wee things that you have to do and all the wee techniques and details that you have to add in order to stop your opponent getting out the guillotine. So Dustin Poirier, he was really jumping back on the guillotines. Benoit Saint Denis, every time he was able to slip out, and not only when he slipped out was it bad because Dustin Poirier no longer had the submission, but he was slipping out and able to pass Dustin Poirier's guard very easy. So Dustin Poirier goes from a clinch position up against the cage, and then a couple of moments later, because he's dived on a guillotine, he's ended up in maybe bottom side controller. There was a time where he turtled, and Benoit Saint Denis was able to take his back. So it was pretty funny, and the round ended with Dustin Poirier in an armbar. He did seem to slip out of it. I'm not sure if he was saved by the bell of the arm. There was a core bend on the arm, don't get me wrong. It looked like a nasty enough armbar, but it looked like he might have slipped out of it. So that was the end of round 1. We go into the corner, and we hear Dustin Poirier's coach saying, "No more guillotine."
Hey, yes, sir. Hey, you got to stay off the wall. You got to stay off the wall, and no more guillotines. No more guillotines. Make him work, right?
Saying no more guillotines, just as we were all thinking. I was watching it with my mates, and we all said that is incredibly stupid. Dustin Poirier jumping on these guillotines, as corner said to him. So he comes out in the second round, and what does Dustin Poirier do? He fucking jumps on another guillotine. This is like, it's like a crack addict for guillotines. It's crazy. Even after his corner man telling him it, that there tells me that he was being a bit rash, Dustin Poirier, and he wasn't really thinking through what he was doing. This is typical of his fight style. He goes out there and he leaves it all in there, and he goes out and he fights at 100 miles per hour quite often. So I wasn't really surprised, and it was funny, and it all did work out in the end, because halfway through the second round, we see a flurry of punches, just as we did in the first round, back and forth punches. Although in the first round, Benoit Saint Denis was really the one coming out of the exchanges better, and Dustin Poirier did look pretty shook up after the first round, anytime they did come in and exchange with each other. Halfway through the second round, another flurry of punches. Dustin Poirier lands, I think it was a left, hook or something like that there he landed initially, and it kind of startled him. It wasn't very obvious that it hurt Benoit Saint Denis, but you could kind of see his legs move a wee bit. More punches land, and then a bigger right hook knocks Benoit Saint Denis out. When Dustin Poirier gets his hands going, there was no one more dangerous in the lightweight division in terms of boxing. It was quite similar to when we seen him knock out Conor McGregor. He lands maybe 4 or 5 heavy sort of short punches in a row between uppercuts and hooks, and then against Benoit Saint Denis, after he startled him ever so slightly, he startled him, and then he lands this massive right hook which just knocks him out cold. What a brilliant comeback it was for Dustin Poirier, and what an amazing win. Dustin Poirier, I was writing him off after the first round, to be honest, and I was kind of writing him off before. I did say that he's a stud and there is a chance he could get the win, but Benoit Saint Denis is an absolute killer, and he showed that over the past couple of years since he's joined the UFC. So for Dustin Poirier to go out and beat Benoit Saint Denis, it was an absolutely massive win. Probably one of the best wins of Dustin Poirier's career. In terms of name value, it's not, but for those who know, Benoit Saint Denis is an absolute killer, and we've been wondering how he would do against this calibre of opposition, the top sort of 5 lightweights who's been there for a good few years now. Let's see how the new crop of lightweights do against them. And Dustin Poirier, he really put the flag down for this old crop of lightweights, because what an unbelievable one it was. Was it a fluke? I don't know. I've seen ones online saying it was a bit of a fluke. He was getting battered, to be fair, you know, like Benoit Saint Denis was looking really, really good, but that's where the experience overshadows sometimes talent, where Dustin Poirier, he knew they hang in there, and he was able just to time that punch perfectly. I don't know if he was waiting on it or what the crack was, but he was able just to time it perfectly, and he stuck in there, he stuck right in there until he could. So I think the experience really showed a lot for Dustin Poirier in this fight. So moving on up the card to MVP making his UFC debut. Were you impressed with MVP's debut? I've kind of seen two different tales been told since it. I've seen one saying this was a boring fight and they weren't impressed by him, and I've seen one saying that they were impressed. For me personally, I was very impressed by him. I thought he looked very, very quick. He looked very quick in there. How often do you see Kevin Holland? In the third round, Kevin Holland, he kind of looked a bit... He looked as if he didn't know what to do with MVP, and he came out and commented after and just how quick MVP is. He was flying in with them elbows. See how quick he can close that distance. There's maybe a range of like 3 or 4 feet in between them. And within seconds, MVP is right in the face of Kevin Holland. It's because of this wide sort of karate-based stance, it allows him to move back and forwards very, very quickly and very effectively, and it really works for MVP. I was impressed by him. It was a great fight at moments. Don't get me wrong, I did say in my prediction video I thought that this fight may be anticlimactic, and there was moments where it was. Sometimes when you have 2 strikers like this, they really do just outland each other, or they check a lot of the kicks that's been thrown and stuff. So it can be a stalemate at times, but there was moments where the fight was like that. But outside this, it was a really enjoyable fight. MVP also showed a wee bit of wrestling in there. He managed to take Kevin Holland down, which surprised me. It was more like a trip. It wasn't like a proper wrestler's takedown. It was a nice wee trip. But for MVP, it was a great win. What's next for MVP then? I would like to see MVP fight either Ian Garry or Wonderboy. I think these are 2 great matchups for him, and I think it would be a great, exciting fight as well. All 3 of these guys, they're like predominantly strikers, and very, very good strikers at that. They've all got a complete array of punches and kicks that they can throw, and I think any matchup between 2 of them would be very, very exciting. I don't know if they'll give him the Ian Garry just yet, because Dana probably wants to build the star power of MVP in the UFC, and he's also doing the same with Ian Garry. So I don't know if they'll give them each other, but I can see Wonderboy and MVP happening. They've both got very similar karate wide-based stances. As I mentioned before, Wonderboy adopts that stance too, so it would be a great matchup. Imagine the kicks and the punches that would be thrown in that, and it would be one that I would be very, very excited for. And I think if MVP could go out and beat Wonderboy, I think that it proves that he is at the level of the UFC welterweight division. So it would be pretty interesting to see that. So we move on to the next fight, which was a brilliant performance from another up-and-coming star in Jack Della Maddalena. He was taking on Gilbert Burns. I did want to see Gilbert Burns win this fight. I love Gilbert Burns, and I don't think his stock drops too much after this either, to be honest. He did put up a good fight. You know, Burns won the first 2 rounds of this fight. His grappling, he was able to take Jack Della Maddalena down pretty easily. His single legs were brilliant in this fight. I don't know how many he landed in totals. I've seen him land maybe 3, 4, 5 single legs throughout the fight. So His takedowns were very, very good. He was pretty dominant on the ground. Although when we were looking at the feet, I don't know in this division if there's any better boxers than Jack Della Maddalena. The way he can cut corners and cut angles and move so quick in and out is pretty scary, to be honest, and I think striking is a problem for anyone in this division. Jack Della Maddalena, he looked really, really good on the feet, although he is too easily taken down. I don't know, his takedown defense wasn't great at all. Someone like Gilbert Burns' jiu-jitsu is unbelievable. He's a world champion. But this doesn't mean that his wrestling or his takedowns are up to this level. They are good, but they're far better in the division. Just looking at the division now, you know, you've got the likes of Usman, who is a better wrestler than Gilbert Burns. You've got Shavkat Rakhmonov, even Bilal Muhammad, kind of. You know, Colby Covington, as much as he's a prick, he is a pretty good wrestler. You know, so all these guys, they will give Jack Della Maddalena problems, which is why I don't know how, I'm not sure how far he can go in this division. He really needs to improve the takedown defense. But as I said before, I fancy Jack Della Maddalena standing on the feet. He could go with any of these guys. Gilbert Burns, it was a bit silly what he done really. He was landing great takedowns all fight. Then in the last round, he kind of seemed to be rocked a wee bit, and he mustn't have been thinking straight, because he goes to land a takedown and literally walks straight into the knee of Jack Della Maddalena. What a clean knee it was. It lands, and then he follows up with some pretty nasty elbows on the ground. Gilbert Burns was trying to cover up, but he wasn't really defending himself properly, so the referee calls it, and Jack Della Maddalena gets the win. What's next for Jack Della Maddalena? Looking at the rankings, Jack Della Maddalena is ranked 11th currently, and Gilbert Burns is ranked 4th. Does it make sense for Jack Della Maddalena to fight anyone that's ranked less than 4th? I don't know. I think in this scenario it probably would make sense, because you look at the top ranked guys, you've got Leon Edwards, Kamaru Usman, Bilal Muhammad and Shavkat Rakhmonov. Out of them guys, who would I like to see Jack Della Maddalena fight? I would like to see him fight Kamaru Usman. I think Kamaru Usman, it's a great matchup for him stylistically. I think he would be able to use his wrestling against Jack Della Maddalena. And for Jack Della Maddalena, what a great way to test your wrestling. No one better to test it against than Kamaru Usman. So that's a fight that makes sense. I think if Jack Della Maddalena, if he wins this fight, you know, he'll have won 18 in a row by that stage. He'll be 18-2. His first 2 losses came from his first 2 pro MMA fights. So 18 in a row he would have won. And it's pretty hard to argue against his chance at a title shot after that. So I would like to see him fight Kamaru Usman next, and that'll be another fight that I'll be excited to see. So we move on to the last fight on the pay-per-view then. And it was Peter Yan against Song Yadong. I picked Peter Yan, unanimous decision for this one, and I did get it right. It was a pretty good fight. Wasn't the best fight ever, but it was pretty good. First round come out, Song Yadong, he was pretty good. He was very quick with the scrambles. These lighter weight classes always talk about how quick the scrambles are. It's like, I've heard it described before, it's like 2 frogs in a blender, and that is what this was like. The quick scrambles, Song Yadong was getting the better of Yan in the first round, and I thought, oh no, if Yan lost this fight, it would have been detrimental for his career. He's lost 4 out of his last 5, although the caliber of opponents, you know, they're all championship fighters. You've got the likes of Mirab, Sterling, O'Malley. So any fight that he has lost previously, you could turn around and say, well, it was against a real high class of opponent. Whereas against Song Yadong, if he loses this fight, you know, he really does go on the downward spiral. So Song Yadong wins the first round. Second round, it was a tight enough round in the second round. I think Yan's boxing was better. And he also landed quite a nice takedown at the end of the round, which probably done enough in the judges' eyes. And then the third round was similar to the second, but slightly more dominant by Yan. So Yan goes on, he gets the unanimous decision win. The fight did end with Song being in a Darce choke. I'm not sure how tight it was. I'm not sure if he was safe by the bell. Pretty dominant performance from Peter Yan in the last round. So what's next for him? There was a good guy in the main event that would have a fight with him, Marlon Vera. I think that would be a great matchup. Peter Yan against Marlon Vera. And both guys, obviously, Peter Yan trying to climb back up the ladder and Marlon Vera trying to do the same after his loss to Sean O'Malley. That would be a match that makes sense. It'd be a great matchup. Both very durable fighters. It's a fight that I could see going the distance. I think this fight could be 5 rounds. If it was like a fight night or something, or even like a featured co-main event of one of the big pay-per-views, this fight should be 5 rounds if it happens. I think Peter Yan and Chito Vera, 2 of the most durable opponents in the bantamweight division. So what a scrap that would be if it was 5 rounds, even better. Hopefully Dana watches this video and it gives him the idea. don't know what the chances of that are, but fingers crossed. That's a fight we get to see. And then the featured prelim of the night was Jailton Almeida against Curtis Blades. I was so fucking happy to see this. Jailton Almeida, he started to piss me off really because he's so one-dimensional, it's unreal. He dives in for the legs every single time. He doesn't really stand and bang at all. Diving in for legs, spamming takedowns, and he was looking very, very good. But Curtis Blades, he just fucking... It was as if Curtis Blades just thought, fuck it, and just started nailing him as soon as he grabbed the leg one of the times. Jailton Almeida, I don't know why he didn't just let go of the leg. He kind of just gave up. Covered up. The ref calls it. What a win for Curtis Blades. Next of all, we have to have Curtis Blades against Tom Aspinall. He's the loss in Tom Aspinall's record. It wasn't really a loss. His knee got blown out. But this is a fight I would love to see for Tom Aspinall's interim championship, because it doesn't look like John Jones is going to come back any soon and give him a chance for the real heavyweight championship belt. So the interim one we'll have to do now, but what a great matchup that would be. I could go through the rest of the card because there was some other big moments, but I like to keep the video short and sweet. If you've stuck around for this long, thank you very much. It's much appreciated. If you enjoyed the video, make sure and like it. What do you think is next for Sean O'Malley? Do you think he should fight Ilia Topuria, or do you think it's nonsense really? Do you think he should stick around at the bantamweight division, fight Murad, defend his title a few more times before even considering stepping up? Or would you love to see the Ilia Topuria fight now? Would you like to see that as the next fight? Let me know what you think in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, hit the bell so you get notification when my next video goes live. And thank you for listening to Bernie Talks Fighting.